rule or something. So therefore, it will remain in the southern part of the country, right? Then a few hours later, the Nigerian regime, Tinubu, they announced that, oh no, the aircraft only developed mechanical faults, and he just had to make an emergency landing in Burkina Faso because he was on his way to, they were on their way to Portugal. So that initially, right, those who felt like since Nigeria, especially Tinubu, since Nigeria has been hobnobbing with France, and these Sahel countries, right, have been rejecting France so much that they have been paying dearly for it, by the way. So that makes Nigeria, being friends with France, makes Nigeria a potential enemy. And it's not like an enemy they wanted, okay? But it is because the president of Nigeria is an ally of France. And therefore, the interest of France is believed to have become the interest of Nigeria. Even though, you know, technically, Nigeria was supposed to be the big brother of all these countries, okay? But long story. So what was Nigerian aircraft or military aircraft? They call it a transport plane, by the way. It's a cargo plane. Okay, so 11 military personnel were on board, and the 11 personnel were, you know, summarily arrested. Now, the information of them being like cleared, like, you know, like I said, a few hours after the arrest, so they announced that they have been cleared, that, you know, it was a little misunderstanding. Diplomatically, it's been sorted, but it's not been sorted. It's been 6 days. And of course, yeah, the government of Burkina Faso, especially the government of Burkina Faso, all of them in the AES, right? They, like I said, they consider Nigeria as an hostile country to them, being on the side of France. So they've already forbid Nigeria and some other, what have you, from using the airspace, okay, anymore. And that was said to be, you know, kind of like them becoming aggressive towards Nigeria too. So this is existing. I want to kind of play ignorance here and at the same time just use the available information. So Nigeria understands the fact that they are not in good rapport with Burkina Faso. And Burkina Faso is no longer the same Burkina Faso that Campore and others ruled before Traore came. Right now, Traore and his own guys have invested so much than Campore ever did. They have invested so much in different, military hardwares with their relationship with France. So Nigeria should know this, right? So the story of the reason why the aircraft stopped in Burkina Faso was because it developed technical fault or mechanical faults. So they had an emergency landing. The story has now changed, not on the part of Nigeria, but on the side of the AES country, starting with Burkina Faso. To them, no. The story is now like, oh yeah, they do not believe that the aircraft actually developed any mechanical faults because they have now questioned the 11 men on board. And somehow they believed that this aircraft was doing a big geomapping operation for France. Now, you probably have read that on social media as well, right? Now, some will tell you that, no, that's not plausible. That doesn't make any sense. None of this actually make any sense to start with. Okay? So, Nigerian military aircraft with 11 men on board, right, flew into the AES airspace without the clearance and whatever, right? And they ended up developing mechanical faults right there and then. Then they had to make an emergency landing. The story doesn't make any sense to me too. So if they had been allowed to leave, like to go a few hours after the news broke, then maybe the story of, oh, they developed mechanical faults, that's why they kept them. Just they had to make an emergency landing. So they are not honest with Nigerians to start with. That is Tinubu's regime, not being honest with Nigerians. But maybe they will say, okay, we can't tell you everything. But right now we are reading a lot. That some would want to convince you they are conspiracy theories, but they are those making sense. This aircraft violated this airspace. They have nothing to do with the country. They have no, 24 hours, they will be cleared. There will be no reason for Burkina Faso to want to have any confrontation with Nigeria like that. I don't think so. So it's kind of like cheap for the Nigerian foreign minister to come out and say, oh, it was just like a mechanical this or that, blah, blah, blah. Only for the Burkina Faso to be telling us right now that no, they were actually carrying out geomapping, whatever it's called, for France, because the southern part of Burkina Faso shared borders with the northern part of Benin Republic, and similarly shared border with, I think, partly northern part of Mali. You get that now. So the way the operation in the last 6 months in the Sahel, for those of you who have been following the news around the place, right? The terrorists in that axis, they call some, they have an ISWAP, they have Boko Haram, they have another new one called the JNIM, something like that, right? Who are wreaking havoc, killing the Malian soldiers, Burkina Faso soldiers, Niger soldiers, and they are killing them too. Now, you see, this axis of Burkina Faso is said to be the area where a lot of movement of military weaponry and all of operations are going on. And that's exactly the area where this Nigerian aircraft flew over. Now, there is no evidence that this C-130, which is just a transport military aircraft, okay? They use that to move heavy weaponry. Sometimes I think they use that to also move personnel too. It's like a cargo plane, a cargo, but military kind. So there is no evidence that the C-130 is fitted with any geomapping, geomapping equipment. But from what is now flying all over the place is that the reason why they did not release 11 military personnel from Nigeria was because they have now been considered as spies. They said this military aircraft, when it was flying over Burkina Faso, the southern part where it later kind of like stopped, right? It already flew over Mali and going straight into Burkina Faso, the southern part. And it was transmitting live data. Some said that if you're a military person, this won't make any sense. No. You are trying to gaslight us that there is no big deal. That Burkina Faso just... Some are even telling us that, where do you think Burkina Faso will have the equipment to, to kind of like bring down an aircraft? That's why I said that the Burkina Faso that they took from Campore is not the same that the Traore have. And there is something about those of them who are the APC Ronukus in Nigeria. I don't know why. They somehow kind of like have this personal nag whenever the name of Ibrahim Traore is mentioned. I don't know, like they have this special knack for it. However, right, there is no evidence of, the Burkina Faso just wanted to have a face-off with Nigeria. No. So it is now said that 11 Nigerian military personnel, which have not been named, 11, they have been in detention in Burkina Faso in the last 6 days. And not just there. They are extracting intels from that same aircraft. Everything they could get from it. Whatever information they believe that have been, you know what I mean? They are extracting everything. And there's a chance, right? Except, of course, when they have any diplomatic dealing, right? Except for that. They are having a trial for them. They're going to put them on trial as spies. And they are being accused of, right, working for France. So you see something there. Yeah. Now you are hearing all of this, and somehow they are going to make you feel like it's just conspiracy theory. It doesn't make any sense. But what doesn't make any sense? That Shaguri is the confidant of Tinubu. And he's also a very good friend of Macron. And Tinubu, in that sense, has become a resident of France. And right now, there's so many. Tinubu went to France to sign a deal that France will get a special privilege of access to the rare earth minerals in Nigeria. Don't forget, Shaguri is the one who is currently executing the most expensive, project ever embarked upon by Nigeria since your independence. That is the Coastal Highway. It's been executed by Shaguri. Shaguri is involved in this arms deal and all of that as well on behalf of a call. So what is not making any sense? France lost Sahel, and that's not news, right? And the Sahel has probably never known peace since then. However, they are there. They formed their own bloc, removed themselves from the ECOWAS, and they have formed a kind of like a defense, kind of like a defense bloc, where if any is attacked, the rest will join. If any is attacked, the rest will join. So in such a way that they are in this unity because of, decades of France exploitation of these countries. These are open stories. So now, Nigerian aircraft is held, it's been held for 6 days, not just the aircraft. Nigeria, do you even understand the meaning of actually having your aircraft, your military aircraft, grounded in another country? And the military personnel on board, locked up, being interrogated. God knows what they are doing to them. Do you understand what that actually really mean generally? Right? So when you kind of like say, oh no, it's not a big deal. They are just trying to provoke Nigeria. How? As how? You send your military over their operational field to map and take pictures of some of their strategic, strategic military structures and things being, like, are you trying to believe that a lot of people are pretty much like ignorance of some of these, what they call their geopolitics? So the only thing that makes sense is this. If the Nigerian military actually developed mechanical faults, by now, the aircraft would have left that country. It didn't crash, it landed, and they grounded it and arrested everybody on board. But Nigeria wanted to make it look like, no, don't listen to those people saying all these things. It's the protocol, is the protocol. It's the protocol, right? They're just trying to kind of get them to, you know what I mean? Like, you have your military personnel in detention in another country. And probably right now, behind the scene, a lot of diplomatic, whatever is going on. Do you get me now? But Burkina Faso didn't ask for that. They did not intentionally hunting for Nigerian military jets or anything. No. They were not looking for wahala with Nigeria. Even though Nigeria, what they rejected is what Nigeria welcomed. Now you are going to begin to see some of the French companies that will leave all these Sahel countries. They'll begin to find spaces all over Nigeria too. It's part of the Tinubu's deal with them. Was it 2 days ago that they signed another deal that, France will now, they signed an MOU with French government. So France is going to help Tinubu to standardize the tax system next year. You saw that, Abi? So all your data, everything that they are going to collect here and there and all that. So France said they are going to help them. So that's a different conversation though, right? But the only thing that makes sense is that if it was a technical or mechanical issue, they will only be there for a few hours. Diplomatically, they would have cleared that area. And they violated the AES, this and that. Okay, yeah, we are really sorry. It's an emergency. It's an accident, and they kind of see that it's true. So if nothing is found, or if they are satisfied that, in fact, this is not a spy operation, they would have let them, would have allowed them to go. But in this case, no, they didn't. 6 days. Tomorrow is going to be a week that they've been holding them. So yeah, different stories, different news popping up here and there. And the only one that makes sense is the fact that why is Nigeria military jet flying over the Sahel operational base? When I say operational base, it's like the meeting ground. It is around that southern part of Burkina Faso. This is where you have all this. If you have been following, or if you have not been following, that's fine. But if you have been following the news and happenings in these countries, right, you would have seen that the moment Nigeria placed embargo on them, especially Niger Republic, Burkina Faso, they have invested so much in military hardware. And I'm talking about, most of them are Russians, right? And some of them are also like a Chinese. And I'm talking about weapons that even Ghanaians will see them on the road. They stopped using Nigerian ports, started using Ghana ports. And most of their military hardware, if they were not flown, if they didn't fly them in, then they will be properly like shipped down, moved down, and then you will see that long motorcade. When Nigeria and few others, right, decided to sabotage the supposed oil supplies and the rest of this axis, right? You know what they did? They formed a block. So within themselves, right, they will pull out a convoy, trucks of, of fuel to all these Sahel countries. What did they start doing? The terrorists started attacking the convoy. They started destroying these trucks, destroying this oil and all that. How do they know? Yeah, there are those who probably have a geo map of the area, but they are not satisfied. Some said that France could see it anywhere in Burkina Faso from space. Fine. If they can see everything from space, okay, then there will be no need for any reason, right, to put any of their boots in anywhere in Africa. Do you know that? Yeah, I know you are going to say, oh yeah, but they still have to put their boots on ground. That is to protect the exploiters, Abi. Well, satellite image is enough. And within a few hours, they can be there, to do whatever they want to do, right? But here is the thing. That is not washing it. You can't hold Nigeria military plane. Baba Agbagbe now. Nigeria can't be like what? A joke to you. I know Nigeria is probably, they've made Nigeria a joke now. No thanks to these guys. Seriously. Some of you can still probably remember the good old days, right? There are some certain things that you can't try with Nigeria. But these days, everybody seems to have seen enough. And somehow, those who could take advantage of the Nigeria's vulnerability, they do. Because you now have attention seekers, so to say, somebody who wanted validation as the president of the country. So he will pander to anyone, kowtow to anyone, as long as they can probably just acknowledge him as president. That's Tinubu. And that's exactly what is playing out here. Your fellow Africans, who I actually believe, he call himself a Pan-African too, right? A progressive. That's Tinubu. It should be somebody who is very much conversant with the histories of all these countries, and including that of Nigeria and colonialism. So it shouldn't probably be somebody that would understand that these countries are tired of the exploitation of these colonialists, right? So the big brother of the continent, supposedly, even the big brother who is also their neighbor, who should know better, decided to, partner with the same exploiters, right? And in this case, is willing to fight their war in the name of Nigeria, to further alienate Nigerians with their neighbors. There's so much they've actually ruined. That's why when you asked them, what is Tinubu's foreign policy? What is Tinubu's foreign policy for Africa? What is Tinubu's foreign policy for the world? They can't really give you anything. All these ambassadors that Paul is putting together, right? Compensating with this ambassadorial, what have you, yeah? Ask them, what is the policy of Tinubu for all these countries they want to go to? What is Nigeria's mission there? Kind of, they have nothing. Everybody will just have to develop one thing and say, this is my own project. So Tinubu's policy is to fight the French war for them, so that France won't have to need to do anything anymore. They've got a bigger fish, and that's Nigeria. And they still have their eyes on their former colonists. Their former colonial territories. Right now, the same terrorists that are terrorizing Nigeria, terrorizing Burkina Faso, terrorizing Niger, terrorizing, Mali, Chad, right? They are also terrorizing Benin Republic. Oh. The northern part of Benin Republic, the Benin soldiers are dying like almost every day too. Same complaints, right? Poor pay, poor intel, no morale, corruption in the military, and on and on and on like that. You know, but yet it's more or less like the facade